Yay Networks.
Okay, sure, no problem. Go ahead. Like, I literally stop myself because my initial reaction is like, say like, fuck you,
Yeah,
bitch.
totally.
Like, you know, like, but it, like, I'm just reprogramming myself to just calm my nervous system. Oh, welcome back to the Happily Ever Amber podcast. You know, this is why I'm doing this, because I want everybody to know that life can get real messy and it's not perfect, and that is okay. And that is okay. Sometimes we just need to pause and take a deep breath. I'm so excited. On today's episode, we have Eli Harwood, who has the Instagram handle, The Attachment Nerd. And first of all, I love that handle. But I know that we had Thais Gibson on talking about different attachment styles. I love this idea and understanding, and I love exploring and learning more. So I have Eli coming on for the first time, not again, to really explore what it's like to be a mother, to be in a relationship, and how we combine all this with our nervous system. Because I think it really starts with being able to regulate ourselves as humans before we have the responsibility to parent or to be in a relationship. So I'm super excited about this episode. Thank you guys all for being here. I just want to share this episode right away with you because I'm so excited. So let's dive in. Hi. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Oh, you're so welcome. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Your Instagram, I love it because I love that not only are you a mom, but you're a therapist, and you're just so freaking cool and knowledgeable, and you're a researcher and like just life experience, and I love that about you.
Thank you.
Your Instagram is just great. You take things. I love people that are professionals, but they know how to have a fun spin. So going in your highlights and looking at all your, like, I'm fearful avoidant, or like the turtle one, or like I was like, I love this woman so much.
You're my people. Then you're my people, because I feel like I'm not everybody's cup of tea. My obsession with like, how do we create secure relationships and how do we heal from our past, and also how many costumes can I wear while doing that, is not everybody's cup of tea. So I
have a question. Do you teach your kids? You have, how many children do you have?
I have 3 kids, 2 4-year-olds. They're twins, obviously. And then a 8.5-year-old.
Oh, delicious. You're busy. Do you dress up for your kids? Like, is this like an ongoing, like, I'm going to teach my kids through these costumes?
I mean, it is definitely a primary parenting goal that my children will learn to love dress up. So slowly over time, I've been like getting them into but they love it. I have a whole costume closet, and I would say probably on a weekly basis, it gets like raided, taken out, all the things get put on. We play characters, we run around the house.
And that's really important because kids really learn through play.
Yes.
And imagination.
And, you know, for me, as a parent, there are areas of play that are just more laborious for me, like sitting on the ground with like a figurine and we're just talking to each other. Like, I kind of want to poke my eyes out. It just doesn't do it for me. But absolutely, like getting dressed up, putting on makeup, playing with our hair, pretending to be a character. Like, I'm all in. So I think as parents, we have to do the best to find the area of play that we can engage in. Mm-hmm. And then we half-ass some of those other areas as much as we can. Mm-hmm. But that feeling between a child and a caregiver of like, my caregiver is really actually present with me in this play, is an important part of how we bond.
Yeah. And I think that's really good. One of the things that I wanted to talk to you about was your nervous system and regulation and how that works. Mm-hmm. And one of the, I think it's something that you have pinned on your Instagram is this idea, and I'll let you explain it even further, of just having your partner come home and just embracing each other with no, to-do list attached, no verbal communication. And I think that's so
important. And I try to do this with my children. I have one that doesn't want to be touched, and then one that is like, I kind of like, she's more of a nightly, like, let's cuddle. But can you talk about the importance of regulating our nervous systems? Because I think right now in the world,
yes,
as adults and also in the world for children, because there's so much anxiety. I mean, every person that I run into, whether it's a neighbor or a cousin, like everyone is just feeling so much anxiety. So I think the first step is regulating our nervous systems. And I would love for you to talk on that.
Yes. Well, what I want everyone to understand, first of all, is that we are wired to regulate with others. So we are a relational species. And the way that our nervous system develops is in relationship to our caregivers. So when we are wee little people, we can't regulate our own nervous system because we don't have enough gray matter in our prefrontal cortex or repetition of experience to help us feel calm or safe. So we do that in tandem with a caregiver. We do that by having proximity of some kind, by getting mirroring from them. And so when we're little, the input we get from our caregivers influences how easily we regulate our system as adults. And that's important to note, because if you're coming into this conversation and you're like, okay, my nervous system is a mess. Like I'm on edge all the time. I don't want to feel like this. The key is not necessarily going, okay, what do I do right now in this moment? Even though there are things you can do right now in this moment. The key is going, how did my nervous system develop in relationship to my caregivers? So did I have caregivers who were able to stay calm and warm and responsive when I was dysregulated? So when I lost my shit, was my caregiver able to soothe me back into a settled state? Or did I have a caregiver who inherited a pattern of avoidance? And when I got dysregulated, they ignored me or dismissed me or intellectualized what was happening or tried to give me some kind of a limit or restriction around what I was feeling in order to regulate me. But what they actually taught me is how to disassociate or how to distance myself from what I'm feeling and shut down. Did I learn how to numb instead of how to calm? Because I think what a lot of people don't realize is that regulation and calmness is a state of feeling. So when we are calm, it is not that we are not feeling. It's that we are feeling safe and regulated. And so many folks grow up in homes that confuse that and teach children to shut down what they feel, to shut off what they feel, to numb what they feel, and call that calmness. But that's not calm, that's numb. Or did I grow up in a home with a caregiver or caregivers who were so anxious in relationship to me that when I felt feelings, they took those feelings on, and their anxiety about my anxiety added to the mix, right? Like, so I couldn't rely on them to soothe me because they were distressed by my distress. And then lastly, did I have a caregiver who was so unwell that they were actually kind of scary, that when I got upset, they got scary? That one's really sad and heartbreaking, but unfortunately not uncommon.
Yeah.
So when we're thinking about regulating ourselves now, we have to sort of look at our regulation historically. What did I learn about my needs? What did I learn about my feelings? What have I done to cope? And when you look at sort of each of those different categories, I just laid out the attachment categories, but in descriptive ways instead of just legal, here's what that looks like.
Yeah.
What is it I need to learn in order to practice a sense of regulating both within my body, but also within my relationships? And it's different in each of those categories.
Right. And that will eventually lead to the category of being a secure attached.
Exactly. So the goal, so we all inherit an attachment pattern through our primary caregivers. We inherit their way of relating, and we adapt our needs to what they can handle and what they can't handle. Okay. But as we process that, as we grieve that, as we make sense of that, then we have the opportunity to learn a secure attachment pattern. which is what I did. There's like no person in my position that comes into this work just out of like pure curiosity and interest. Like all research is knee search, right? So like,
Oh, I
actually
love
don't know who
that.
said that originally. I think it's very brilliant, but I come into this space because I was a person who inherited an insecure pattern, and it affected my life and my relationships, and eventually ended up in therapy. And through that process, I learned about attachment and was like, oh my gosh, this is the thing. This is the thing. And as I worked through my stuff, I earned a secure attachment. I should have like a button that we all get. I earned a secure attachment pattern.
That's amazing. That is my goal. My goal for 2024, my personal development goal is to become secure.
I love
attachment.
this. Okay, so I have to ship you my book if you don't have it already, because I literally made you a guidebook.
I do not, and I'm very upset.
We're going to get it for you because this is, I've been doing this. I did this in my own life. And then I brought it into my clinic, and I've been working with patients for the last 17 years, and I've been helping people process and learn. That's really what you're doing. You're processing the emotions and the experience, you're reflecting, and then you're learning. How can I shift my patterns into more healthy patterns? So I wrote a guidebook, basically. It's a guided journal. And the whole thing is like, here are the questions you're asking yourself. Here are the things you're reflecting on. Here are the ways that these patterns might have impacted you. And then let's look at what it looks like to develop secure attachment in your life now. So how can you get your needs met with safe, loving people in your life now, even if you didn't have that experience as a child? So I got you, girl.
That's a full-time job doing that, by the way. Like learning that and really being aware of that in your daily life and being mindful of that, right? And one of the things that I've been learning lately is pausing, right? Pausing before you say something. Because with teens, if there's not one like, don't do this, did you do your homework? Go brush your teeth. Why didn't you pick up the clothes off the floor when I asked you 3 times? Like, if there's not, it ends up just being like, it doesn't feel good to parent that way. Like, it doesn't feel good to have to ask my kids or to like ask my older daughter, did you send that email? Or like, I'm just like, but if you pause and you learn the right way to say it, and that completely just by welcoming that, the energy shifts in the home,
pause
right?
Is taking you out of urgency. So if I pause, I'm reminding my body and myself that we're not in an emergency, and I can reflect, and that just changes energetically what I'm doing versus when we react. So being reactionary tends to cause more reactionary responses from our children versus when we can reflect and pause and think, like, do I need to address this right now? Am I calm enough to address this right now? Maybe I need to take a break and think about it. Or maybe I just need to breathe for a minute, so that instead of saying, did you do your homework yet? I can say, hey, kid, has homework gotten done yet? Totally different experience. And your kids still might be annoyed that you're asking about homework because what they would rather do is X, Y, or Z, but it's not your system driving their dysregulation. And so then when they get dysregulated, you can support their nervous system. Like, oh, you really don't want to do homework right now. Sometimes it's really hard to have to do homework. Sometimes it's hard to be a kid. How can I help you? What would make this easier? I could cut you up some cheese in the shape of stars, throw them at your head. Does that help? What can we do here? Right? Like, you enter into a creative relational moment instead of a dominance-based relational moment.
I think that is why it's so important to, teach myself this first. And I've gotten so much better. And this is like one of the reasons, like making other parents and human beings, like whether you have kids or not, it just affects every relationship with your coworkers, to the guy at the car wash, or you like the insurance company, or whatever it is. It just
the way you
changes.
I mean, when I'm on the road and I'm driving and I see people kind of like aggressively passing me, I mean, I'm a weirdo, but what goes through my head is like, what is that person holding? What is happening in their world? What has happened in their world that has taught them that they have to move about in such an intense and aggressive way in the world, right?
Yeah. I'm laughing because this literally happened to me this morning. I swear. So I was driving home and there was construction. So 2 lanes went down to one. And this person just sped up to get in front of me to have to stop like a second later. And I instantly was like, are you? Okay, sure. No problem. Go ahead. Like I literally stopped myself because my initial reaction is like, say like, fuck you, bitch. Totally. Like, you know, like, but it, like, I'm just reprogramming myself to just calm my nervous system, regardless of what's going in my life, like whatever, you know, whatever's happening in my life, grieving the loss of my dog, grieving the loss of a relationship, like I can't project that onto other people. And my God, you have no idea what someone else is going through.
And you know, this is one of the gifts of being a therapist. Everyone's going through something. Like there is so much complexity in human life and no one is going through the same thing. And there are different levels of pain and suffering and struggle and all of that. However, everybody is wrestling with something. And not that that excuses violent behavior or excuses, you know, whatever, but it helps us to calm our own bodies in response to the dysregulation of other bodies. Like,
yeah, because you're only in control of yourself. That's it.
You know, and the way this person cut in front of you and whatever is going on for them in their world, you don't need to take it on. It doesn't need to be yours. It affected you, but it can affect you for 1 minute instead of for all day. Right. And when we really do our healing work to feel just grounded in ourselves, it's so much easier not to take things personally and not to take them on, which is a very important skill for parenting. Our kids are like, oh, you're not taking this personally? Watch this. I'm going to make sure you take it personally. Right.
Oh, yeah. So I was just sharing with you that I lost
puppy, Jack.
Our dog. And my oldest one, who is a very deeply feeling person like myself, she's a very deeply feeling kid. She's like, it was like a lot of FUs. You fucking killed our dog. A lot of screaming. And like, as a parent, you're just like, you just have to meet them like, oh my God.
Contain.
Okay.
I'm going to contain you.
I know you're
I'm going to contain you even though I want to react because you're activating my amygdala. You're activating my response because you're in that heightened state of aggression, but you're there because you're disoriented. You're there because you're in pain. You're there because you're small and you're handling something big. And I feel like this thing is big. Yeah. And so now I have to figure out how can I stay connected to you enough that we don't enter into a power battle about your pain. And instead I co-regulate your pain.
Right. And that's something that especially with, you know, teenage girls who's on the spectrum, who, you know, processes information very differently. I think this is probably London is my biggest blessing in my life because she's teaching me something that I don't think I wouldn't have been able to teach myself. But because I love her unconditionally, I know the importance of the gift that she's trying to give me, which I need to in return give to her. You know, we're doing this life thing together.
And there's nothing more important. No one lays on their deathbed and thinks, why didn't I go to that extra meeting? Or, you know, why didn't I make sure that we looked more put together? Like you lay on your deathbed and you're like, do my people know I loved them? Right? Like, was there enough moments of were there enough moments of connection that they felt my love and support, and in specific, my children, right? Like nothing hits that heart quite as much, or my sweetheart, or my people. When you were in that moment, how did you navigate it? What did you do?
I actually got quiet, and I actually got down to eye level. You know, she was sitting, I was standing, and I said, I know this really hurts, and I am devastated as well. It hurts Mommy so much, but time will make it feel better. we just have to get through this together. And if that means we have to write Jack a letter, if that means that we have to hold on to his favorite toy, whatever that is, if we need to go out and get some ice cream and go for a walk, or go to someone else's house and play with another dog, or whatever we need to do. If you need a bath, I will run you a bath, and I will I understand. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I've learned specifically with this child of mine, is that she just wants to feel heard and connected. Like if I'm talking about learning disabilities, I share with her, Mom really struggled with math too. And I know what that is like. And then I'll go, like, kids love stories, I realize. So if there's like a specific time where you had like a test and you felt stupid, or someone saw that you got an F on a test and made a really rude comment, or whatever it is, or I shared with her, I said, London, you never believe it, but Christmas Eve, my favorite dog, my only childhood dog, came into the garage and died where Grandpa Billy was. And that was so hard. It was Christmas Eve. And she was like, oh, no, Mom, really? Like, sharing these stories with your kids and instantly the energy of the room went from like chaos of screaming and emotions to like,
we're calm. We're calm. It's okay. I mean, beautiful. Like what you did is you connected. One of my mentors, who is no longer with us, Dr. Karen Purvis, said, we connect before we correct. Right. And I would say we are reaching before we are teaching. We are regulating with our children before we begin to educate our children. So in that moment, you resisted the temptation to go, that is not how you talk to me, young lady. You can be upset about this, but you can't tell me blah, blah, blah. Or how dare you accuse me of killing our dog, which of course it would make sense that you would have that reaction because you're suffering with the loss of this dog. So to be accused of killing it, I mean, that's like I said, they're going to find those buttons. That's salt in the wound. But you recognize that in that moment, she is so dysregulated and she's processing a type of pain she's maybe never processed before. And so she doesn't know how to do it. And I think when you move into that compassionate space, people fear that that's being permissive, but it's not, because what you're doing is you're helping her brain to go back into a zone of processing. And then she can begin to authentically understand what she's feeling. And then you can go, hey, you know, it's really important when we're feeling sad that we use sad words and not mean words, you know, if you need to. And honestly, I'm guessing you didn't even need to, because she switched out of that mode.
And something that also really helps, specifically with kids on the spectrum, kids that are having a hard time regulating their emotions, connecting with people, is sticking to facts. Like, Jack was sick. Jack had cancer. Jack wasn't going to make it for another week. Jack was suffering. And so like putting those bullet point, you know, really important statements in her mind, it just kept it out of the Jack's not here. Panic, never going to see Jack again. Like,
but also what you were doing is so beautiful, is you were holding on to something concrete, which is my daughter is doing the best she can with what she has in a hard situation. You were trusting in the dignity of her reaction, and you weren't interpreting it like she's spoiled or she's mean or she's a sociopath or there's something wrong with her. Like you were, you know, I mean, these are places we go as parents. They're catastrophic thinking.
I'm like, my kids are bipolar. They're psychotic. Like, what am I going to do? Like, of course, if you're a parent and you haven't had those thoughts, like,
write a book, quick. Tell us how you did that. Quick. Because we don't know how. Because it's just part of parenting. I mean, parenting's so inherently vulnerable. We love our kids more than anything else. And every kid's unique, and every parent-child dynamic is unique. And we're learning as we go. And the world is changing as we go. So we're also having to adapt to a changing world as we try to parent our kids. I mean, it's kind of the Wild West out here. What a beautiful job you did. And now she has a memory of losing her mind over something that is so painful it can't be processed, and having the caring mind of her mother alongside of her to help her reconnect and re-regulate and process with a sense of being cared for. Well done.
And parenting, thank you. Thank you. And also parenting how I wish I was parented. So you have to be the parent that you never, it's like almost like I was talking to my inner child in a way at the same time that I was talking to my daughter. Because unfortunately I didn't have that. It was like, throw some dirt on it, you're fine.
Move on. Don't be such a baby. You're highly sensitive. Yeah. You need to learn to be less sensitive. So I'm not going to pay too much attention to your pain because I think you might drown in it. So instead, move along, little girlie, move along. Yeah. So, okay. I want to make one comment about this idea of us giving our children what we needed. And the only reason I'm making this comment is this can get a little bit confused because what you're talking about is beautiful. You're talking about giving our children the presence and the regulated parent we needed. But sometimes if we haven't fully processed the wounds of our childhood, we can get fixated on some pain from our childhood and trying to prevent our children from feeling that pain and actually miss our children. So I'm going to give you an example. I see this a lot when folks grew up in homes where they didn't feel deeply adored and supported. So I don't feel like my parents care about what I feel or what I need. I go and have my own children, and my mission is my children will never feel what I felt. Okay? Such a beautiful, heartfelt, good mission. However, if I have not first done the work to love myself and to feel lovable and to feel secure in who I am, then what's going to happen is I'm going to go in with my children and I'm going to hover and I'm going to be hyper vigilant. And when I say I love you, I'm going to be scanning their faces. Did they feel loved? Did I do it? Did it work? There's going to be anxiety in my mission. And so ironically and heartbreakingly, instead of my children feeling loved, they're going to feel smothered. And feeling smothered is just as lonely and isolating as feeling like isolated and missed and invisible. So it's a bit of a nuance because yes, give your children what you didn't have, but make sure that what you're thinking about is a parent that is mature, a parent that doesn't take it personally when their feelings are out of line with you, a parent that isn't grasping tightly to exactly what they want for your life and allows you to have your own feelings, your own identities, your own needs. And all of that happens when we have gone back to our own little person and we've taken care of them enough that now in adulthood, we're like, I am okay. I am worthy of love. I am good for exactly where I am right now. I can give my children my best. It's going to be not perfect all the time. That's okay. I'll apologize when I mess up. I won't panic when we have a fight because fights happen, because I'm offering them a well-regulated parent. And my kids are not me. So they aren't actually going to need exactly what I needed in childhood, because what I needed in childhood was a result of not having a parent who could attend to my needs. So it's like a little bit of a dance that we're doing here. Like, how do I give you what you need?
So
how do I be a parent that gives their children what they need and is attuned to them, knowing that what they need might be different than what I needed?
If you have clients or parents that come to you that already have children and then they realize that they're not there yet. They're still in that development stage. What advice would you give them?
So the beauty of all of this is that our job is to do the best we can with what we have. And we all come to parenting loaded with different trauma, loaded with different support networks, different financial stability. You know, we have different levels of dealing with oppression in the world, right? So no one is coming to parenting with the full bucket all the way around. We all come with some challenges. So what I would say is, doing your best with what you have means acknowledging and recognizing the places you have to grow and putting in the effort you can towards that growth. And then owning it and recognizing it when your stuff is in the room and it's affecting your kids. So, here it is. There's my crazy. It's entered the room. Here we are.
Or your partner or your relationship, whatever. It doesn't have to be, it could be any version of, right?
And so I'm going to, in that moment, do what I need to do. Take a break. I mean, I love your pause. Take a pause. I'm going to acknowledge, hey, I'm so sorry. I came in heavy and harsh. Can I try that again? Can I have a redo? I love giving my kids redos, and then they love giving me redos now. Mom, you need a redo. I'm like, okay, I know you're right. Okay. What do I need to do in order to redo? Well, I probably just need to take a minute, take a pause. Let me try that again.
Yeah.
But so I would say love covers a multitude of disconnections. So when we are disconnected from our children, it might be painful, it might be uncomfortable, but it is in their wiring. It is in our wiring to want to be good and right again. And when we as a parent can take that leadership and say, I'm so sorry, I'm learning. I wish I had done something different before. Maybe I can say, I wish I'd done something different when you were little. But I can also say, I wish I'd done something different 30 seconds ago. And I'm going to try again. And here's the efforts I'm going to be putting in to get better at this and to train my brain around this. I wish most people saw parenting as much of a developmental process as we see childhood. I think the expectation is you're going to like arrive at parenting and it's like, I'm a good parent, I'm an equipped parent, but I think it's far more that there's an interchange. As our kids are developing, we are developing, which is helping them develop, which is helping us develop, right? And there's no one doing this right. That's not a thing. It's about doing it the best we can with what we have and then returning to connection, returning to relationship, and that bond we have with our children whenever we've gotten off track and we aren't in that connection space, like doing our best to get back on track so that our kids know we're there for them, because that's a magical advantage in their lives.
Oh yeah, it is. It is. I love that so much. Okay. So for the last, I don't know, 5-10 minutes that I have you, I just want to talk about the different attachment styles, like, and this idea of like zodiac, people believe in like, oh, Cancer can't be with it. Like, how do you recognize that when you're getting into a relationship? And how do these, is there signs that you would see like, okay, I know my attachment style, like, and you're looking at someone, you're dating someone, or you're in a relationship with someone, like, how does that work?
So it's not like this is compatible with this isn't compatible with that. It's not like that. What you want to be looking for in any relationship is someone who feels matched with you in their desire to grow, in their desire to connect, and willing to put in the legwork to mutually hold accountability for that connection and that relationship. I find a lot of times people with an avoidant pattern end up with people with a preoccupied pattern, which is also sometimes referred to as an anxious pattern in a different subset of research. But that kind of like person who struggles to show their feelings ends up with the person who needs constant sense of other people's feelings in order to feel okay. And you sort of chase each other around that tree. And that is only problematic if one of the people in that dynamic doesn't want to heal or grow or put in the effort. Otherwise, it's actually incredibly adaptive, because the avoidant person is now with someone who won't let them avoid. And the person who's preoccupied is with someone who isn't going to put up with that constant need for reassurance and badgering. And so you have to grow together. I would say the key is, when you set up a boundary, is it respected? When you reach for that person and you directly articulate your needs, do they respond to you? Do they care about your needs and what you feel? And are they willing to let you in on their needs and what they actually feel in relationship to particular moments, especially tense or hard moments? And if that's the case, then the two of you can begin to design a secure connection together. And it's awesome if you can find someone who's more secure than you are, in the sense that, like, great, they can teach you some things, but it's also kind of hard too, because then you're like, I'm the weak link here. I mean, I don't know. Like, I guess I would say, follow your body, take your time, get to know people. Some people come across incredibly empathetic and supportive at the beginning of the relationship, but they're actually just manipulative. So we want to be aware of, is this person interested in the vulnerability that it really takes to create a deep, secure attachment? Or do they just want me to idealize them? Which one is this? But yeah, it takes time to figure out. You listen to your heart, listen to your body, listen to what people tell you about themselves. If someone says, I don't think I can give you what you need, they mean that. Do not stick around and try and turn them into what you need. I mean, look for the open hearts. Look for the open hearts. Who's there ready to heal, even if their pattern is avoidant traditionally or preoccupied or even disorganized? Like, are they in a place in their lives where they're like, I want to be deeply, securely, maturely connected to somebody else? And the hard part about love is you have to try before you know. So you give it a try, and then you go, oh, no, that wasn't it. And listen to your no's, right? When it's really a no, it's a no.
Yeah. I mean, listen, as women, I think we have this great ability to tap into this, these red flags or these feelings. And when and you really just have to be able to trust yourself that your body's speaking to you, right? If only, while you were saying that, I was thinking, God, can you imagine on the date, if there was a dating app and you actually had to put your attachment style?
I've
that would
thought
be
before
so
that they should really have me on Bachelor in Paradise, and I should do like interviews with everyone and then help them kind of recognize like, here's what's happening here. Anyway, yeah, of course. But let me tell you, let me give you the simplest way to evaluate this. Okay. Someone with a secure attachment style reaches directly for someone else when they feel tender and in need in some way, reaches directly, doesn't wait for someone to read their mind, just says, I need you. Can I have a hug? Can I tell you about this? Can you come over? This is what I need. And then when the other person shows up and shows up good enough, they really are making an effort to care and listen and whatever, then that person receives what they experienced. So they go from I'm upset to I need you to thank you. That felt good. Okay. An avoidant pattern is I'm upset, therefore I'm going to push you away because I'm afraid that my needs are a burden to you. And in my mind, having emotions and needs will make you repulsed by me. And so I'm going to shut down and push you away, and I'm going to try to avoid what I'm feeling. I'm going to try to distract myself from what I'm feeling. It's really toxic to connection because the thing is when our people reach for us, it's an honor. It's a gift. It's what bonds us together, right? When someone has a preoccupied pattern, they reach, but they don't receive. Can you come over? And the person comes over, and there's this sense that no matter what you say or what you do, they aren't comforted by it. And the anxiety that they're holding on to about whatever your relationship, they aren't allowing themselves to be soothed because they haven't learned how to trust and let it in. And that becomes really challenging in a relationship because if someone reaches for you and you show up because it's an honor, but they don't let you help them heal or feel better, then it's no longer an honor. It actually is a burden, and you feel exhausted because it's exhausting to reassure someone over and over and over and not have them actually integrate that reassurance over time. And then the disorganized pattern would be someone who, when they're upset, they get like either erratic, like they blow up, or they disassociate. They just completely ghost you, and you're like, what just happened? When someone has that level of trauma, it breaks my heart. I like to say that for them, close relationships are their Vietnam. They are their Afghanistan, their Iraq, their Gaza. Like that point of trauma in their lives was with a close attachment relationship. So when they enter close attachment relationships and they feel vulnerable for some reason, they hit the ground like an IED just went off. And so there has to be lots of trauma work done there in order to understand why they feel so unsafe when they are needing other people. Needing other people feels dangerous to them. So they have to do some work around that, and it breaks my heart.
Oh.
But yeah, so I hope that helps shed some light on what you're looking for. And
it does. And I hope anyone who's listening, please reach out. Can you please tell the viewers, people who are listening or watching this on YouTube, where they can come find you, I know you have therapists working with you, like you have a whole team. So where can they go and
I love to
hunt you down?
Okay, so you
help?
Can find me on all social media platforms at Attachment Nerd. I run my mouth on the internet with regularity, trying to help everybody build security in their lives. And then I have a team of coaches and therapists to help you specifically with whatever you're going through. Attachmentlabs.com. My book, Securely Attached, is wherever you buy books. And that's the workbook I was talking about earlier to help you work through your stuff. And then I wrote a second book that's coming out in the fall called Raising Securely Attached Kids. And it is just my parenting book of like, this is what it looks like to build that attuned, secure relationship with your children. Because what I found is there's so many parenting books out there, and there's brilliant parenting books out there, but most of them start at the tactical level, and they don't teach you first, how do you build the relationship that's required for those tactics to work effectively? Because it's trust and it's synchronicity and it's rhythm with our kids that helps them to engage when we give them choices or we, set up structure in their life. So anyway, if you're following me, you'll know when it's out. And I'm so glad to get to connect with you and your sweet mama heart. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for
You're
coming
so
on.
welcome.
I'm only laughing because I am just such a mess, but it's okay. It's okay to say like, well, no, words do have power. That's something that I learned. Words have power. I'm just having a funny day. This is a really silly day. I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. I love that conversation. I can't believe she's a therapist. She's just so easy to talk to. Understanding your attachment style and knowing as a parent that you're not perfect, or you're in a relationship and you are dealing with maybe some childhood trauma and you didn't have a securely attached parent or caregiver, just know that it's okay. And that in these moments, we're learning. We're going to do this together. We're going to grow together. We're going to evolve together. I would love to hear your guys' feedback on what you guys thought of the episode, what you learned, your takeaways, maybe something that surprised you that you didn't know or realized about yourself. Thank you so much for being here. Please, if you enjoyed this episode, it would mean so much to me if you guys would subscribe, and we are also on YouTube. So, and you could also check us out at the new Instagram page. Don't forget, we have a new Instagram page. It's at Amber Childers. That's it. All right, everyone, enjoy their beautiful week.
Yay Networks.